Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Najwa Hussaini with Azadi News. Bangladesh's plan to relocate hundreds of Rohingya to remote island must be dropped, says Amnesty. Sweden provides USD 1,500,000 to UNFPA women and girls. The Bangladeshi authorities must abandon plans to relocate more than 100 Rohingya families to a remote island in the Bay of Bengal, which has not yet been declared safe for human habitation by the United Nations, and where many refugees are still reluctant to relocate, said Amnesty International. According to local media reports, the Bangladeshi government has completed preparations to relocate 300 to 400 Rohingya refugees to the Silt island of Bashanchar this month on a voluntary basis. Rohingya refugees interviewed by Amnesty International this month said that government officials in charge of refugee camps in Cox's Bazar have coerced them into registering for relocation. Aside from the fact that Bashanchar has not been deemed safe for human habitation by the UN, there are serious questions over this relocation procedure. Omar Waraich, head of South Asia Amnesty International, has obtained a partial list of the Rohingya families identified for relocation to Bashanchar, where more than 300 Rohingya refugees are already living in poor conditions. Many of the Rohingya we have spoken to have not given full and informed consent to being moved to an island they know nothing about, said Omar Waraich, head of South Asia at Amnesty International. Any decisions relating to the relocation of refugees must be transparent and involve the full participation of the Rohingya people. In the meantime, plans for any further relocations must be abandoned. The Bangladeshi authorities must let the UN carry out an assessment of Bashanchar and immediately return the hundreds of Rohingya refugees currently on the island to their families in Cox's Bazar. A Rohingya woman on the list told Amnesty International that she has registered to go to the island because her husband is there. As a single parent with a young child and without any relatives in the camp, she has been facing many problems. It's very difficult to live this refugee life. I don't have any other option. It seems that the government will never allow my husband to get out of the island, she said. On 10th November 2020, Mr. Anders Frankenberg, head of development cooperation of the Swedish Embassy Section Office in Yangon, and Mr. Ramanthan Balakrishnan, UNFPA representative for Burma, signed an agreement for a grant of US $1.5 million. This funding is to support UNFPA Women and Girls First Program Phase 2 2020 to 2022, in addition to the existing agreement with the Swedish Section Office of US $4.2 million. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted access to life-saving SRHR-GBV and MHPSS services needed for women, girls, and young people in Burma, and acutely so in conflict-affected areas. Women and girls are at greater risk of experiencing gender-based violence. Adolescents and young people encounter limited access to sexual and reproductive health information. As movement is restricted, livelihoods are disrupted, and protection systems are weakened. The additional funding from the government of Sweden allows UNFPA to scale up sexual and reproductive health, including mental health and psychosocial support MHPSS for women, girls, young people, including women and girls with disability and marginalized groups. Bridging the humanitarian peace-building and development nexus, the Women and Girls First program is benefiting targeted population across Kachin, Rakhine, Shanmon, Kayin, and Kaya states. Mr. Ramanthan Balakrishnan said the pandemic has curtailed access to health services in Myanmar, especially those related to sexual and reproductive health and rights SRHR and gender-based violence GBV, with a disproportionate impact on women, adolescent girls and youth. In response, UNFPA Burma is focusing efforts on ensuring continuity of essential SRH and GBV services, especially in conflict-affected areas, and mobilizing youth and women's organizations and their networks to accelerate response. The additional funding from Sweden enables us to continue and scale up these much-needed interventions. Mr. Anders Frankenberg said meeting the sexual and reproductive health and rights SRHR needs of women, girls, and young people in conflict-affected areas of Burma is a clear priority for Sweden, and we have supported the Women and Girls First program since its first phase starting 2015. The COVID-19 pandemic has significantly increased the challenges in an already dire situation, disrupting critical SRHR services, limiting access, and increasing GBV risks. Increased investments are needed to meet the needs. Therefore, Sweden is increasing support to the program, contributing to positive change for conflict-affected women and girls in Myanmar. UNFPA United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency continues to deliver critical and life-saving GBV, MHPSS and SRHR services for the most vulnerable women and girls through 33 women and girls centers and mobile and static clinics in Rakhine, Kachin, Kaya, Kayin, Mon, and Shan states. The Women and Girls First program is funded by Australia, the EU, Finland, Germany, Italy, and Sweden. This is today's news. To get more updates about Rohingya, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Visit our website azadinews.org and follow our social media accounts. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.